She woke in the middle of the night, frozen in place. At first, Kathy Lutz thought it was a nightmare. Then she felt them. Cold hands pressing into her arms, her legs, her chest. Something was wrong. She turned her head. Her husband was asleep beside her. Safety was inches away. She tried to scream his name, but nothing came out. She couldn't move. She couldn't speak, and whatever it was had her. The hands clawed across her body, burning her skin, leaving red welts. When it was over, Kathy lay shaking in her bed, terrified and violated. It's remembered as one of the most disturbing moments in a haunting ever recorded. But did it really happen? Even today, people are divided. Some swear this was a true haunting. Others insist it was exaggerated, maybe even invented. And questioning it doesn't make you a skeptic. It makes you human. Tonight, we'll pull apart 3 of the most famous hauntings of all time. The Enfield Poltergeist, the case that split England down the middle, the Bell Witch, America's first great haunting, and Amityville, the most infamous haunted house in the world. Did these families really battle the supernatural? Or were the stories twisted for fame and fortune? You be the judge. Welcome to Project Strangeville. So here's the thing. People love to argue about hauntings. Some say it's all fake, others swear it's proof of the paranormal. The truth, usually somewhere in the middle. And that's why we're starting with Enfield. Police officers, reporters, even neighbors said they saw things happen there. But there were also moments when the kids were caught faking. It's messy, and that's what makes it worth looking into. And one quick note before we dive in. There's a case I almost left out of this video because it doesn't really fit the debatable category. The evidence is different. There's photographs, video, even audio that are tough to ignore. I'll show you that one at the very end. But first, let's dig into Enfield. In August of 1977 in Enfield, North London, a single mother, Peggy Hodgson, calls the police. She swears something is moving through her home. When officers arrive, they see it with their own eyes. A heavy chest of drawers sliding across the floor. No one touching it. No trick they could find. For the Hodgsons, this was just the beginning. Soon, knocks echoed through the walls, following them from room to room. Objects flew through the air. Neighbors stepped inside and swore they saw it too. But the strangest part, the activity seemed to focus on one child, 11-year-old Janet. She began speaking in a voice that didn't sound human, deep, gravely, guttural. She said it wasn't her. It was the spirit of an old man named Bill Wilkins, who had died in the house years before. Investigators recorded hours of it.
I want you to call out my name, my complete name, Morris Gross. See if you can do that. Hello. Very good. Let me hear you say my name again. Come on, let me hear you say my name. Come on, my name's Morris. Let me hear you say it. Morris.
Now that was the first time we heard the voice, and since then we've been hearing it again and again, and it's been getting louder and louder.
You just heard her. Was Janet really channeling something, or just putting on an act? Records later confirmed a man named Bill Wilkins had in fact died in that very house. His son even backed it up. And then came the photos. Janet caught midair above her bed. To some, it was proof of levitation. To skeptics, nothing more than a girl jumping. For the Hodgsons, this wasn't a game. For over a year, their house was filled with investigators, reporters, and neighbors, all watching, all arguing. But here's where it gets messy. Some investigators admitted they caught Janet faking, bending spoons, staging events, even putting on voices. And if part of it was fake, does that mean all of it was? If so, how does that explain the chest moving or objects flying through the air? The haunting went on for 18 months before it finally faded, but the scars stayed with the family, and so did the arguments. To this day, Enfield is remembered as one of the most documented hauntings in history, but also one of the most disputed. Decades later, Hollywood would turn Janet's torment into a blockbuster film, The Conjuring 2. But just like the real story, the movie left audiences asking the same question. Was it real, or was it all staged? So that's Enfield. On one side, you've got police officers, reporters, even neighbors swearing they saw it all happen. On the other, kids caught faking, and photo skeptics still rip apart. It's messy, and honestly, that's what makes it so fascinating. Now let's go back more than a century earlier to Tennessee, where John Bell's own death certificate listed his cause of death as supernatural. Think about that for a minute. Official documentation blaming something beyond explanation. This is the Bell Witch, a legend so terrifying it rattled entire communities and even scared a former US President, Andrew Jackson himself. And if stories like this pull you in, make sure you're subscribed. We've got plenty of strange cases waiting in Strangeville. But don't go anywhere, because the Bell Witch is just the warm-up. The case everyone's waiting for is still coming. Amityville. It's 1817 in Adams, Tennessee. John Bell is jolted awake by the sound of his daughter screaming. He rushes into Betsy's room. Her blankets are already on the floor. 11-year-old Betsy is thrashing, her hair tangled in invisible hands. Then the slaps begin. Loud, sharp cracks that leave red welts across her face and arms. The rest of the family looks on, helpless. Their daughter is being attacked by something no one can see, and the attacks didn't stop there. Voices filled the house, mocking prayers, quoting scripture, even singing hymns. Outside, strange animals appeared. A giant bird perched on a fence, a monstrous black dog with glowing eyes. Word spread fast. Neighbors came, and many swore they heard the voice of the witch for themselves. Loud, intelligent, answering questions in full sentences. Some believed it was a restless spirit. Others whispered it was a curse, cast by a neighbor named Kate Batts, who reportedly despised John Bell. That rumor gave the entity its name, the Bell Witch. The legend grew so large, it reached the future president of the United States, Andrew Jackson. He arrived with soldiers to test it himself, but after a night of eerie voices and strange events, he reportedly swore he'd rather fight the entire British Army again than face the Bell Witch. Then came the final blow. John Bell's health collapsed. He suffered violent fits and seizures until he was found dead in his bed. Next to him, a vial of dark liquid. The witch's voice declared it had poisoned him, and John Bell's death certificate, incredibly, listed the cause as supernatural. The only case in American history where a ghost was blamed for a man's death. But here's where the questions creep in. Was Betsy really attacked? Or was it the hysteria spreading through the family? Did neighbors truly hear a spirit speak? Or was nothing more than a rumor and a suggestion? And Kate Batts, was she really a witch? Or just a woman caught in the crosshairs of gossip? 200 years later, no one agrees. Was the Bell family cursed by something beyond this world? Or did fear and folklore create America's first great haunting? So that's the Bell Witch, a family tormented, neighbors swearing they heard the same voice, and even a death certificate that blamed the supernatural. To believers, it's undeniable proof, but skeptics see something else. A legend built on fear, gossip, and stories that grew bigger with every retelling. Is it really a curse? Or just hysteria passed down until it became folklore? What about you? You buy it? Does it sound like another campfire story that got out of control? Either way, what comes next is different. This isn't just a legend whispered in Tennessee or a case of kids caught faking. The next haunting made headlines, launched books and movies, and turned into a worldwide phenomenon. Amityville, the house that some call the most terrifying haunting of all time, and others call the biggest hoax in paranormal history. It's late at night in Amityville, New York. Kathy Lutz bolts awake, her body frozen. She feels hands pressing down upon her, groping, clawing, leaving burning welts on her skin. Just inches away, her husband sleeps undisturbed. Kathy can't scream. She can't move. The next morning, red marks cover her body, and this was just one of the many horrors the Lutz family claimed during their 28 days on Ocean Avenue. But to understand why the house had already carried such a dark reputation, you have to go back 1 year earlier. In 1974, Ronald DeFeo Jr. murdered his entire family as they slept. His parents and 4 siblings, each found face down in bed. No one heard gunshots. No one seemed to fight back. A mystery that left the house soaked in blood before the Lutzes ever set foot inside. A year later, George and Kathy Lutz moved in with Kathy's 3 children. They hoped for a fresh start. Instead, they said the house turned on them. During a blessing, Father Ralph Picaro claimed he heard a deep voice growl, "Get out." He fled and never returned. Soon after, the family discovered swarms of flies filling a room in the dead of winter. George began waking up at 3:15 every morning, the exact time of the DeFeo murders. He grew obsessed with the fireplace, his temper unraveling. Kathy reported nightmares of the killings. Their daughter Missy spoke to an imaginary friend named Jody, a pig with glowing red eyes. One night, George said he saw those eyes staring back at him through the window. A neighbor swore they saw them too. The violence escalated. Kathy levitated off her bed, her body twisted in the air. George swore her face changed into that of an old woman. Beds shook violently. The family dog was nearly strangled with its chain wrapped tight around its neck. And after just 28 days, the Lutzes fled. They left the house and most of their belongings behind. But when movers entered days later, they reported nothing unusual. No slime, no stench, no cold spots. That's when the story split in two. To believers, the Warrens' investigation confirmed what the family claimed. Ed and Lorraine called the house demonic, and a photograph taken during their work seemed to show the ghostly image of a boy in the hallway. Proof, they said, that the haunting was real. But skeptics pointed to something else: money. Ronald DeFeo's defense attorney, William Weber, later confirmed that he and the Lutzes cooked up the haunting over bottles of wine, trading ghost stories that would become a best-selling book. That book sold millions, spawned movies, sequels, and a franchise worth millions more. Critics argue that the Lutzes had every reason to exaggerate. They were struggling financially, falling behind on payments, and the house they'd bought was one they couldn't afford. What better way out than to turn tragedy into profit? And the details, the slime, the glowing eyes, the demonic voices, not one was ever verified by police, clergy, or independent investigators outside the Lutzes circle. To skeptics, the Amityville horror wasn't a haunting, it was a business plan. And yet, decades later, the story refuses to die. To some, Amityville is the most terrifying haunting in history. To others, it's the biggest hoax the paranormal world has ever seen. So that's Amityville. To some, it's the ultimate haunting. A house that left the family scarred and investigators convinced. To others, it's the biggest hoax in paranormal history. A cash grab built on tragedy and imagination. Whichever side you are on, one thing's for certain: the story refuses to die. Books, movies, and endless debates keep it alive nearly 50 years later. But remember at the start I mentioned a bonus case? One I almost didn't include because it doesn't really fit the debatable category? That's because this one has something the others don't. Photographs, video, even audio that are far harder to dismiss. So let me ask you, do you think evidence like that is enough to prove a haunting, or would you still doubt it? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear where you stand. And if you're new here, welcome to Strangeville. Stick around, we've got more stories waiting for you. Next up, San Pedro. Jeff is crawling through the attic when it happens. Something loops a cord around his neck and yanks him toward the rafters. His feet leave the ground. He claws at his throat, choking, seconds from death. The others scramble to pull him down. When they finally free him, Jeff stumbles out, pale and shaken.
What's behind your neck?
I don't know. What's on my neck?
It's like a noose.
Come on down.
A piece of rope.
Oh, shit.
Gary, get down out of there, buddy.
I knew you should.
Can you find my glasses?
Gary, Jeff,
Look at this. Look at
Jeff,
this.
turn the camera.
Jeff, are you okay?
Jeff,
I'm fine.
Jeff, tell me what happened, buddy.
Oh, I don't know, Gary. I told Gary that there was nothing happening up there, and he turned around and came. He was coming this way. All of a sudden, I feel this thing around my neck, and it's got me hanging, and it's pulling on my leg.
You were hanging?
Yeah, I was hanging. Gary had to bring me down.
Swearing he saw something up there with him, something that wanted him dead. And that wasn't the first attack inside of Jackie Hernandez's home. It began in 1989 when Jackie, recently divorced and raising a son while pregnant with another, moved into a small bungalow in San Pedro. She was looking for a fresh start. Instead, she walked into a nightmare. At first, it was the little things. A low humming sound from the attic, lights flickering, objects sliding across the room. But soon, it turned violent. Knives were flung across the kitchen with no one near them. And one night, Jackie found a bright red mark pressed into the forehead of her baby. That was it. She grabbed her children and left San Pedro behind, moving inland to Weldon. But the terror didn't stay behind. Friends, neighbors, even investigators claimed the entity followed them home, tormenting them in their own houses. This wasn't just a haunting tied to a place. It was something that latched onto people.
And I smelled it. I experienced it. I felt it. It touched me. It talked to me. It communicated to me. It did things here at my house to let me know that it was there.
And unlike so many cases, there was evidence. Investigators captured strange photos of orbs and shadows, video of objects moving on their own, and of course, Jeff's near strangulation in the attic, witnessed by multiple people and documented. Even after Jackie tried to escape Weldon and moved back to San Pedro, the activity continued. The entity still found her. The attacks never stopped. For investigators, San Pedro became one of the most violent cases they'd ever seen. For Jackie, it was proof that moving houses doesn't always mean leaving the haunting behind. But here's the question. Do photos, video, and eyewitnesses make this case stronger than Enfield, Bellwitz, or Amityville? Or are those things just easier to fake in the modern age? Because that's the problem with San Pedro. The evidence is there. The only question is, do you believe it?